Our cruise up the Mississippi from New Orleans to Memphis started with the passengers gathering at a hotel and then being shuttled in groups to the ship. We had some time to get acquainted with the ship before dinner. The evening's concert featured Wendell Brunius and his wife Carolyn. Wendell led the Preservation Hall Jazz Band for 23 years. We visited 2 plantations here. First up was a walk through the gardens of Huma's house, getting fine views of the house itself. The grounds are especially noted for their oak trees. Then, an escorted tour of the mansion, known as the Sugar Palace, thanks to its production of as much as 20 million pounds of sugar each year.
Oliver's father owned a big mercantile store in New Orleans. He talked his father to hire him to infringe on. So that's really how Burnside got employment pretty quick. That's the big cigar minute. Yeah, I don't know what's that big. And then on the right, the interesting items. I just point out the lead bullets by the letter. So that was the first time she'd ever seen it. And then this is actually an old toaster that was remade. Somebody made a fortune. The slice of bread was here. They used a hook to turn it back and forth.
You know you got well-drained soil and a lot of water, and that is exactly what you need for sugarcane production, which is what we continue to grow in the fields surrounding us to this day. Every field out here is planted in sugarcane. The house was built in 1805. They could see the river from the house. They built them up off the ground to minimize any damages.
The plantation is a Creole mansion where French, local indigenous, and Western African slaves worked together.
She's third generation Creole. She's descended from the very large, very old Prudhomme family. They court, they marry, all wealthy marriages are contracted, but he had acquired this property, so he moved his wife, 3 kids, 17 slaves here to start a sugar farm, and then he died in 1808.
This is one of only a few estates in Louisiana to have completely intact outbuildings. That evening, our entertainment was some Louisiana folk music, performed by James Linden and Jim Hogue. At this stop, we had to walk through a floating casino to get ashore, a rather unique experience. Our day was spent mostly getting a look at a nearby swamp. It was not what we expected, being mostly open water. We did spot some wildlife, including an alligator, but to see how different from other swamps this was did surprise us. It seemed closer to being a wetland than a swamp.
And the more competition they have, the closer they'll get to the boat. That's normal.
We returned to the ship for dinner. Skipping the tours, I enjoyed the morning walking around the small center of town. While settlement in the area began as early as the 1730s with Spanish monks, the town proper was developed around 1807. That afternoon was spent cruising upriver. In the evening, we were treated to some Cajun music featuring Bruce Dagnapont. Another day of walking, starting with the downtown area.
I just dropped down from the best time away. Said my man
Coca-Cola Museum is one of the main attractions. Because the drink was available only in cities where soda fountains could be found, Beidenharn decided to bottle it for distribution, becoming the first authorized bottler in 1894. Then we toured the historic neighborhood of the city. This house and its next-door neighbor have been joined together with a covered breezeway by the current owner.
It's a greenhouse. She had a palm tree that was living in the dirt. And then it collapsed. And then it just, I had that many people in a long time, and I tried to gather them here, go around the world or wherever you travel with them. You get to do things that other people don't get to do. I've heard that people get to maybe go into someone's hut in Africa. As you can see, the crepe myrtles are just about to come out for the summer. It's the view. It's just the view. It's the view. I love it.
The neighborhood has many other interesting homes. This mini mansion has been carefully restored.
Coffee table. My husband will come over. Water for Tiffany. All the rest have crystal makers in there. And then you know how we start a collection?
The rector gave us a brief overview of the history of the church.
I'm Sam Godfrey, the rector here, and we have been in continuous operation since 1828. That's when a group of Episcopalians here in Vicksburg got together and decided they wanted to start having services.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good trip.
The park adjacent to our dock was being well used. Dan Knowles performed Civil War music as we continued upriver. The morning was spent lazily cruising. We arrived at lunchtime and were treated to food, drink, and a concert featuring Steve Azar.
But hot tamales are everywhere now. We even have a festival here. The Hot Tamale Festival in October, there were 3 of us ladies who decided we needed to honor this food. We've had a festival here since 2012.
Then it was off to see the highlights of Greenville. The library celebrates the many local authors from the city, including Shelby Foote and the Hodding Carters. The Hebrew Union Temple, once the largest Jewish congregation in Mississippi, proved a quite informative stop. The Flood Museum, as well as the History Museum, also had a wide variety of interesting displays. On our way to Memphis, by bus, as the river was too low to navigate, we stopped in Clarksdale for a short look at what is known as the birthplace of the blues. Muddy Waters, Ike Turner, and Bessie Smith are among those who congregated here. Arriving in Memphis, it was time for lunch at a popular barbecue restaurant. Then we visited the National Civil Rights Museum, housed in the motel where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. The museum gives an excellent overview of the history of slavery, the protests of the 1960s, and preserves Dr. King's rooms.
You know I felt so hot and stuffy that I didn't know what to do. Still I was fighting for my rights.
Please move to the back of the bus.
Our last evening was spent at a hotel in downtown Memphis. Quite a contrast from the afternoon's mood.